This recent FaZe drama has taken an insane turn, and I mean that. In case you aren't aware of what I'm talking about, I made a video just the other day talking about this as it had just come out, but there's a lot of new information that has come out. Now, for those of you who are aware, there's been a bit of back and forth. FaZe Rain seemed to have retracted some of the things that he had said about Temperrr, but then he doubled back and said, actually, that's not true. I was wrong for walking anything back. And now he is seemingly going scorched earth. Now, this, like the previous video, is going to be a cut down from my live stream where I went through every new piece of information and covered it all together, but this is essentially covering his retraction. He gives the reasoning for why he put out the video and why he regrets it, things like that. And personally, I think it's good to know that context. But more interestingly, some more information has come to light. Rain has been able to acquire the alleged, victims of this situation's full names and is contacting them and is seeking to press charges against Temperrr. On top of that, he was messaging back and forth with someone who was responding and replying under his tweets, and this individual is making the claim that they went to high school with these girls and that it's actually possible that at that time these girls were 15. And thirdly, Rain was able to get in contact with the individual that went to the clubs with Temperrr. I believe it's someone by the name of Bezo, and they are making the claim that Temperrr knew the age of the girls before the encounter happened. Last thing before we jump into the video, if you're new here, please be sure to leave a like if you find this video useful. It just helps boost it in the algorithm. And if you end up enjoying the video, consider subscribing. Regardless of if you do either of those things though, just thank you for watching my video. Where we are at today, a couple of things happen. And the first thing chronologically has to do with a post that I believe Rain had taken down, but Temperrr still has it up on his account. So I'll bring it over to there. This is Temperrr now. He has switched his profile picture to show his kid, which Rain kind of has an issue with. He says, "I'm glad we can agree I don't deserve this label. Thanks for the apology, I guess. Thanks for ruining my life." Now, this clip, Rain had originally posted, and a lot of people were saying, oh, it looks like FaZe Rain has apologized for is taking back the allegations and the claims that he was making about Temperrr with all this going on.
And she was so cool, so rational, so understanding. She was just, pouring her heart out to me, venting and talking about how this has affected her life, And that's what a lot of people tend to forget, is how much these things affect people's real lives. I know it's just Twitter to you guys, you're just weighing in on an opinion. You type some shit, you move on, you type some other shit on a different thing, but it really does affect these people's lives, bro, especially when it's something this sensitive, So please keep that in mind. But I do want to say this. I want to first and foremost retract the statement that I called him a pedophile, because that wasn't fair to do. By the way, I wiped my fucking camera. I don't know what the fuck is still happening. Okay? I wiped my fucking camera. I don't know what's happening. But it's not fair to label somebody as a pedophile, especially when they supposedly did not know this girl's age. I've known Tommy for 15 years. It's not like he ever went around preying on young girls or telling me he likes young girls or any of these things. So that's why I was such a shock when he told me what he told me. He just never told me that he didn't know their ages. If he did, it'd be a whole different story. It'd be a whole different story if he didn't know their ages, right?
This sounds very interesting, right? He's kind of walking back the severity at which that he was talking about things. And you could see this even in the original responses that he was making, where he was talking about, he was like watching in real time as Temperrr put out his second statement about this. Let me actually jump over to that, where he says that he didn't know their age. This was that clip here.
And I found out after that this girl was 17.
Okay, so why is Rain going on this entire tirade and all that? Because they had this conversation where he said it was two 16-year-olds, and then a year after that, he'd hopped in a call with FaZe Banks, Temperrr himself, Rain, and Apex, where this guy then said that he changed his story from the two 16-year-olds, as Rain has been claiming, and says that it was a 17-year-old and the other watched. At no point during either of these conversations does Temperrr say that he didn't know their age. That's been like the point of contention. If I was in that position where I wasn't told, like they didn't tell me their age and whatnot, and I found out after the fact, that would be the first thing out of my mouth whenever I'm addressing this to anybody, especially close friends. The next big thing is obviously Rain posts that, and people are like, okay, so all of the claims that you were making about Temperrr are horseshit. Like, you're apologizing for them, you're retracting them. Rain makes a response. I think the most important first part here, Temperrr responds to this video and he goes, "I'm glad we can agree I don't deserve this label. Thanks for the apology, I guess. Thanks for ruining my life." Rain responds, "You effed that kid and had no remorse. Why I haven't talked to you since. You said you had a threesome with two 16-year-olds and then said it was only a 17-year-old and you said it to sound cool." Oh yes, keep in mind, when he corrected his story a year after in that group call with FaZe Banks and Apex, Rain, to the corroboration or at least a lack of disagreement with Banks, who was like, oh, okay, said that in that call, Temperrr said, if I said it was two 16-year-olds, if I said it was a threesome, it was to sound cool. So that's what he's referencing. Does someone who feels disgusted think it's cool to drop the age and add a victim to sound cool? You're an actual piece of shit. I only posted this because your wife called me crying for 4 hours begging me to. I offered to pay for your bills for you because I felt at fault with you losing your $20,000 a month from FaZe. Tell the whole truth while you're at it, including Bianca and the family's lives you almost took drunk driving. Go on, or I'll do it for you. So now he's referencing something that has not even been touched. That's fucking crazy. We haven't, I don't think, heard anything further from that, but he talks about this 4-hour call with his wife begging him to retract the statement. Getting that information, getting that context, I think is really useful because it really helps you understand why he made that video doing the retraction, and he makes it very clear what his stance on it is. And so I want to include parts of that from the beginning of his stream where he addressed it.
I handled it wrong by the way I went about it, and I handled it wrong by taking that 4-hour phone call yesterday. Here, let me show you guys the text with his wife. I don't have her number saved, so let me just put an E over her name. Hold up. Okay, E over her name. She's sending me fucking baby videos.
What he's saying, again, this is, what he's saying. He gets into a phone call with her. She is like scream crying, and she's sending videos of their kid. Their kid is plastered everywhere. It's not like he's exposing what their kid looks like. She is responding to him, I'm assuming after the phone call, and says, the sooner the better, truly. And he says, been trying to film it since we hung up. She says, I really appreciate it. He says, posting it right now. She said, thank you for doing that. I would appreciate you taking down the old one. It's very clear. And look, I'm not going to say if the wife here is being malicious. I think she's very much, running in her best interest here because they lost that $20,000 a month. From what I understand, Rain also brought up that they had been separated into different housing, Temperrr and his wife. This was before any of this information had come out. But so she's very clearly, and I'm not saying that this is a wrong thing, but acting in self-interest. She doesn't want this to, reflect poorly on the kid or, them growing up, what this could mean for any money coming in from FaZe. I can understand that, but it's very clear based on the story that Rain is showing here, what's going on here. For Rain to be allowing people to kind of guilt him into making decisions, he's very clearly doesn't seem to be doing that anymore. But from what it seems like, at the very least, it's consistent behavior, and it's not him choosing to change the story, because at the end of the day, he doesn't change the story. He's just making it clear that he doesn't think that Temperrr is a repeat offender. But people hear that and hear the way that he kind of was softening the blow and assume that he's walking back what he was saying, which I don't blame people. But if, again, you listen to the video that I was showing you guys that Temperrr had, retweeted and replied to, he's not saying that the claims that he made were untrue. He's also just adding the context that if he didn't know, then that is a completely different story. And he's saying if. He's not saying that for sure he didn't know, because he also doesn't believe that. We'll continue on.
Better, truly. Been trying to film it since we hung up. She's like, I really appreciate that. I said, posting it right now. And she said, thank you for doing that. I would appreciate you taking down the old one. Brother, when I tell you how many tries it took me to make that video, because it was just hard for me to say that, but I just kept thinking about that baby boy. I offered to fucking pay their bills because she's like, oh, we now lost $20,000 a month from FaZe. I offered to pay their fucking bills for them because I felt bad for the kid and her, not even for him, because I know he did what he did. Right now, he's just going with plausible deniability, saying that, well, no, they post the kid all the time. They post the kid all the time, so it's not a big deal. If you go to their Instagrams and shit, they have videos of it. It's not like I'm exposing what the baby looks like.
I just want to present this because I want to be fair to both sides of this. Rain talking about being willing to pay for their stuff and yeah, I feel bad and I feel like it's my fault that you're losing this $20K a month. The fact that he's bringing up offering to pay that money is a bit interesting. And I'm just saying that because in comparison to what he was kind of giving Banks shit for, which I was also kind of in agreement with, was when Banks first came out with his statement being like, this isn't about me, this is about Temperrr, I've always been there for Rain. He talks about how he was offering to pay for FaZe Rain. He was offering to pay him money when he was down and out and doing this stuff. And he got rejected for, actually paying his stuff. But he was trying to show that he was a good friend. Well, in this case, FaZe Rain is doing the same thing. I'm not going to speak to the intention of it, but he is describing him offering to pay $20K a month to, at the very least, the wife and child, not Temperrr directly. And she ended up saying no to that. Which is that's kind of exactly the same thing that Banks was doing, and he called him out and said that that was weird and that he didn't need to do that. And so I want to keep that fair, that he's also doing that same thing. I think that should just be recognized.
She's sending me those videos to feel bad, and brother, I'm overly empathetic. I don't know what you want from me. I'm overly fucking empathetic. So when I have a mother crying hysterically, telling me how I don't want my son to get bullied, I don't want this to happen. And I just felt bad. So she's like, can you please just retract the pedophile statement? Like, so I just did it for the kid, bro. And that's my bad for having too much empathy. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that, bro. But I felt so bad. And as soon as I did it and I realized, what do you mean cap? It's exactly what fucking happened. Bro, these people are actually so demonic. It's so fucked up.
And so he's under the assumption, he believes that he was like taken advantage of and that they used his empathy, used like, clearly he feels intense guilt about things. Like that's kind of the whole reason that any of this shit hit the fan. Even in that, we also saw Banks also doing that to him. When they all originally found out, like from Rain, Banks' first thing as the CEO of the company, as the decision maker, was like, what should I do, Rain? When Temperrr said that he would off himself if this information came to light, they got off the call and Banks was saying, please don't come out with this information because I genuinely think that Temperrr will off himself. Again, this is also very much speculation. Again, it's just all about these conversations that were had. Repeatedly, they're using Rain's guilt, or like Rain's guilt has been able to stop him from making choices that otherwise people would be like, you should be making those decisions. I think at the very least, Rain is consistent with how guilt impacts him, things like that in this context. But that's kind of like the gist of his response to it. And you're actually going to hear it a few times in the stream and clips that we're going over today. And he's going to repeatedly say, none of my story changed. I just retracted calling him a pedo. That's it. That is the only big change that has happened. Well, he's backing off of that entirely as well. He's essentially like, all of this was done to just manipulate me. Fuck that. I don't feel bad about it anymore. And he's been doing a bit of research. Let's circle back a little bit. FaZe, Banks, and Rain hop into a phone call. So he's talking about Bezos. Sorry, it took me a sec.
After the fact that she was 17.
This is their Discord call that FaZe Rain had streamed.
And her friend was like there, but we didn't hook up, whatever. And he was like, there wasn't, you guys' stories weren't corroborated. That's true or untrue, by the way.
The nightclubs, I don't even know where you just got that from. What he said, by the way, on the call.
He said him and Bezos went out in New York.
Also, okay, so it's crazy you say that. Bezos. That's so weird, you fuck.
Bezos. So this is referenced in the Banks call, right? He starts freaking out. Well, he ends up messaging. Bezos starts talking. People have been like pushing back, like some people are now denying or like saying that FaZe Rain's timeline of events isn't true. Bezos, who gets referenced even by Banks himself, starts sending messages to Rain, saying things like, I know that he's a pedo, and I knew that he knew. Again, he was the only other person that's been referenced to being with Temperrr that night when everything went down. Well, he also apparently got in contact with someone who went to the same high school as those girls did, and we're coming to find out that allegedly this had happened actually pre-COVID, which would mean that the ages, I would say this is the weakest part simply because it's just somebody on Twitter, but they end up having a little bit of discussion here. I'll show it on stream, where that would put their ages at 15 and 16, because happening pre-COVID would have lowered their ages. This is the one where it was like, oh shit, it's going down. I got the girls' names, the high school they were in when he did what he did. Spoke to witnesses on both sides. People are too afraid to speak up, but I'm not. It happened in 2019. Girls were born in 03 and 04. I don't blame you guys for being skeptical. I encourage skepticism. To think I would ever lie on anyone's name, let alone someone who did something as disgusting as this, is sad. Shame on your intuitions. Anything I've ever brought to the public has always and will always be 100% truth. Going live now to disclose all of the evidence. That is a crazy allegation to make, especially when you know somebody is lawyered up. He does end up going live, and he does end up starting to introduce some of this information that he's talking about.
Brother, this guy is a piece of fucking shit. And I'm so glad this shit came out because I don't feel bad at all no more, bro, because of the way that he tried to throw me under the bus for trying to expose a fucking pedophile, man. For me trying to do that, trying to throw me under the bus like I did something wrong, bro, is so fucking wrong. You can even see it. Before I even get into this, let me just show you guys what this dude changed his fucking Twitter to. What is his whole...
So he's really mad, number one, because he's seeing that Temperrr has changed his profile picture to showing his kid.
Fucking kid as your scapegoat to your pedophilic acts, dude. You're such a fucking loser and scumbag. It's why they even gaslit me into fucking taking back my initial statement of labeling him a pedophile. I never took back everything I stood on. I tried to take the label away because his wife was on the phone with me crying and begging me to take that label away. Okay, that's why I did it. I regret it. It was a mistake. And I realized immediately how stupid I was. I didn't even hit up any of my friends and showed them the video. I just did it like an idiot. And I regret that. I never should have.
Now, like, personal opinion, he's very clear about why he did XYZ. I think it does do a little bit of damage to his credibility in this if he like is so flippantly able to switch. But at the same time, given how he reacted to it and the fact that he was able to come with receipts, he had this phone call with his wife in like he's talking about this. He showed the messages of her showing the kid and like begging him to release this, you know, apology retraction thing, followed into you should delete the old stuff. I'm led to give his story and his argument for why he did that and the fact that he regrets that. I give that a bit of credit. You don't have to. You guys could have a different perspective on that entirely. I'm completely open to that. Again, this is all a lot of he said, she said talking. That's kind of where I'm at with it. I, for the most part, understand and see where he's coming from and understand why he did that. And the fact that he is saying, no, I take it back. That's a crock of shit.
Did that for his wife and his son. I didn't do it for Tommy. I did it for his wife and his son, okay? I'm stupid for that. I am. I should have never retracted the label because now it got worse. I don't even think one of them was 17, by the way. So the events that he told me where he said in 2023, he said it was a year before that. It has now been thrown out the window. This did not happen post-COVID. This happened pre-COVID. I talked to two separate people, the guy that was with him and the people that were in her class that saw all these Instagram stories go up when she was with Tommy. And Tommy used to follow them on Instagram. And I actually, after he said them, like, wait, he did say that. He did say that he followed them on Instagram. I completely forgot.
Completely forgot. Now, talking about him having eidetic memory and stuff, I think that's kind of pushing it into it.
I forgot about the Instagram part of it. So I asked both of them separately, was this post or pre-COVID? Both of them said pre-COVID. So this happened in 2019. The guy who was with Tommy has proof of the date. He has proof that it was 2019 because, listen, I did not want anything bad to happen to Tommy, him go to jail or whatnot, but because of the way that he has tried to throw me under the bus for just trying to expose all the bullshit that he did, brother, I want you to face the full extent of the law. I do. I am pressing charges. I am doing everything above because this man needs to pay. This man needs to pay for what he did.
The other interesting thing about that, and the thing that I think is a lot more important, is this other individual who is with him. He doesn't outright say his name. I think that may be out of respect, but it's kind of like, it's Bezo. Bezo is the individual that was with him. So I would say above anybody's retelling of the story outside of Tommy's, which again has already been put into, you know, has been put in the crosshairs and has kind of just been ripped apart over and over and over again, Bezo would be the guy. And out of anyone to lie for the sake of clout or doing any of that stuff, Bezo, it wouldn't make sense. He was the person there. He would be, you know, getting his friend completely like ripped apart and just completely destroyed reputationally across the board. Why would he do that just like for the sake of it? And he is the individual, which he's going to show messages from, that is saying, I know that he knew their ages. That is a load of shit. And I know that they were younger than the 17 that Temperrr was saying. That to me has a lot more credibility than some dude on Twitter saying that he was, you know, friends with these gals or like went to the same high school and knew about this stuff. So this is the original DMs that he had kind of introduced earlier. This is between him and I believe Bezo. I'm going to let Rain walk through these DMs. He provides a bit more context with them.
I saw somebody tweet about in 2024, probably a month before this, I saw him tweet about someone in FaZe having a threesome with two 16-year-olds. And I couldn't believe what I was reading. I was like, what are the chances that I read something like that? It has to be the same person. This is October 7th, 2024. This is moments after Tommy threatened to off himself if I ever expose this shit. Just letting you guys know that. This is moments after Tommy threatened to off himself if I ever spoke up against this. A long time ago, I saw you post and was mind blown you knew. Something about a FaZe member and 16-year-olds has to be the same person I'm talking about. Because I found out a year or so ago and I've low-key been fucked up over it and not known what to do. Okay? And this was October 2024. Before I even started streaming, before anybody says, oh, you're doing this for clout, you're doing this for money. Yeah, bro, a year in advance, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start streaming next year, and then I can use this as my moment for stream. And let me just say I'm fucked up now, so that in a year, people will know that I did it for money. You're an idiot. I found it a year ago or so, and I've low-key been fucked up over it and not known what to do. Who's the person you're talking about? Bro, LMFAO, can you say it so I know you actually know, but I feel like there's no way you don't know. Tell me the letter their name starts with. I really don't want to get involved in drama and something that happened 6+ years ago, even though it was fucked. Well, hang on. It was not 6 years ago. I found out last year, and he told me it was a year ago from then. Max 3. Okay? But now we found out, after talking to both parties, it did happen in 2019. Tommy must actually be that fried. he wasn't able to tell the difference between 2022 and 2019, or he did it twice. All I know is that he told me it was a year before he told me, which he told me in 2023. And then he said, well, yeah, it's a different person probably. I said, ... What are the chances though? You said threesome with two 16-year-olds. No, your name will never be brought anywhere about it. I just want to know how you knew. And then he said a 16 and a 17-year-old, which by the way, I'm not even sure if this is true. We're about to get to this. But technically, by law, it was legal, I believe, in the state, but technically not because they were drunk. You probably know, but in America, it's illegal to have sex with anyone under 21 under the influence of anything. I said, FaZe owner, question mark? He said, owner, question mark? No, but that's as far as I'll go. I don't want to get involved. No problem, G. Appreciate you. Super fucked up. I later saw him confirm on Twitter that he said he didn't invite the girls under drama related with us. So it confirmed to me 100% that he was talking about Tommy. Okay? Brother, I have the DMs on my phone. I can literally open up Twitter.
Now, this is the new shit. This is what he was talking about here.
I can fully confirm it happened pre-COVID. This is 6 a.m. for me, bro. That's how late I was up talking to people trying to find out the truth. I can fully confirm it happened pre-COVID 2019. You there? I was actually sleeping at this point, but I messaged before that, 4:54. And I have proof of that too. But to be honest, I know everything, but I don't know if I want to talk. I want to because I can't afford to have my name in the middle of a lawsuit, and he has like some lawsuit going on. The only piece of information I'll give you now is he's lying through his teeth when he said he didn't know. But there's so much more, and I have proof of a lot of it. So I pray, brother, you come forward as it's the right thing to do.
That's a fucking crazy thing to say. Not only to say this guy is lying through his teeth, but to say that I have proof of that. It is a crazy thing to say. I'm always looking at this from the perspective of, okay, if let's say I was fucking around, right? Like, because the other argument is that it's fake or that it's bullshit or this person's just saying shit to say shit. When you're talking about allegations that are as serious as this, as having like not just, intercourse with one underage individual who's like 16 years old, but having it with two who are now potentially 15 to 16 since it was pre-COVID, to just make this shit up, like I'm just doing this to get clout and to pull that in, that's crazy. You are setting yourself up to just completely speedrun terminate your own reputation for the sake of like getting a few views. When it comes to making allegations this heavy, especially with these people, and they're not doing it full chest, they're not going out and just saying shit publicly, maybe this kind of thinking can bite me in the ass because it's not tangible, it's not provable. But to make allegations and to make claims that you have proof of something this heinous, when you could completely get, clapped back and just essentially bankrupted if you go to court about this, leads me to believe that there has to be a little bit of something, or at the very least that this person believes that they legitimately have that proof. Again, that could still end up being meaningless if they are, but I'm led to believe that they wouldn't be bullshitting about that, or at the very least, they don't believe they're bullshitting. That is the toughest part. Like, they're in a lawsuit, so maybe this shit ends up coming out in the future. This information comes out, and then we also have this second part. So now he's going to go over, like I said, he's going to explain it himself, but he's going to go over this individual that was saying that I went to the same high school as like this girl or these girls.
Me the school name. He went to school with these girls. This guy gave me their names. I have everything. I went to the same high school as the girl. I remember her posting stories with him in the club at NYC. My friends and I all flamed him in our group chats because we knew she was in the 9th grade, which is crazy. I hope she's not in the 9th grade. She posted the sunrise at 6 a.m. next day from his penthouse view. 9th grade would make her like 15. Stop lying. Not lying. I was a senior and these girls were all younger. And yeah, there's a chance she was 15. It was years ago. And I never knew her age, only the age of the two friends she went with, who were 16, 17. By the way, the two friends were a grade older. So yeah, she was 15 or newly 16. And then this is a group chat conversation of him and his friends in an iMessage group chat. Yo, wasn't this the motherfucker chilling with that one blonde girl from our high school when she was like 16 or 17? Damn, do you think he knew their age prior? Bro, you could take at least one look at them and tell they were 16 or at least underage. Also, everybody needs to ask, if he found out they were all minors next day, why did he follow her on IG and stay following her for weeks? My friends and I would see him in her follower list. Drunk at 21 Club, 21 Plus Club. By the way, it's all a lie that his lawyers have advised him to say to have plausible deniability. They are telling.
From what I understand, Rain doesn't actually fucking know that. Like, Rain doesn't actually know this information. He's just saying, like, he's saying it as it's fact. I don't think that he has spoken with the same lawyer that Temperrr is supposedly talking to. I don't even know if that's true. So just take that with a grain of salt.
Him to say it was a 21 plus club. They are telling him to say it was 17 and he wasn't aware of the age. Brother, let's pretend you are my friend. Let's pretend you are my friend and you have told me that you've now had a threesome with two 16-year-olds. Would you wait 2 years till it went public in order for you to say, I didn't know? Or would you constantly, and I mean constantly, reiterate the fact that you didn't know their age if you truly were innocent? Anyways, let's get back into it. You're shot, bro. It's very easy to tell a teenager apart from a 21-year-old. He knew she wasn't 21, just didn't investigate because she was dumb, clout-thirsty teen. Don't be so naive. Nah, some 16-year-olds look older. Mix that being with shit-faced drunk, you wouldn't know. Okay. Check his hard drives. Nobody mixes up a 16-year-old with a 21-year-old, but okay, whatever you say. I followed him and DM'd him. Yo, you're not trolling. It's like I put 100,000% true. Bro, it's 10,000% true. 3 girls, New York City Club, 2018. Well, he got 2018 wrong. It was 2019. He's actually unsure if it was 2018 or 19, but based on both sides, it's 2019 for sure, especially because the person that was with Tommy is certain it's 2019. I'm assuming he has a photo with Tommy at that club, so he's just looking through the timestamp of the photo, which tells him it's 2019. And my boys and I were all FaZe fans, so we thought it was crazy when we all went to the girls' IG followers and saw the verified FaZe Temperrr account. All 5 of my friends vividly remember laughing and sharing the story and the screenshots, but don't have any of those screenshots anymore.
This is just the word of the individual that's coming forward with it all, who's like getting to talk to Rain. And as he already stated, thought it was crazy that we saw the verified FaZe Temperrr like account actually following them. They were fans of these people too. So he might, acknowledge that that is also existing, but also what he is about to say in this message.
The magnitude of well, at that time, I guess if it was 2019, Tommy was born in 93, so he would have been 26 years old. Okay, he would have been 26 years old when this happened. All 5 of my friends vividly remember laughing and sharing the story and screenshots, but don't have any of those screenshots anymore. Also, I have a nice paying job and I'm on a burner, so I don't get anything from my name dropping and helping you. So I'm honestly even reluctant to continue this conversation unless you can ensure my anonymity. 2 of the girls were sophomores in high school and 1 was a freshman. Was it after COVID or pre-COVID, do you remember? This is before I showed him the screen recording of the other person I was talking to about the situation. He said pre-COVID. So that also tells me 2019. It checks out. It's pre-COVID. Everybody can kind of remember.
So, like you said, unless this guy's a serial sex offender, lol, but the story lines up too perfectly. All 3 girls were out partying that night, and all of them posted stories like crazy because they were so geeked and clout thirsty. Because here, just saying, 3 of my friends pretty much confirmed the ages of the girls, 15, 16, and 16, and all newly 16 and 15. If this dude's saying he mixed up a 15, 16-year-old with a 21-year-old, he's straight up lying. Dude, so it was 3 girls, not 2? Dude, he's been lying the whole time, dog. I'm an extremely reasonable dude, and if he said he didn't know their ages and was being sincere, I'd believe him. He never once mentioned he wasn't aware. He bragged about it. He said, nah, if they're saying it's 2 girls, it's definitely 2. We all couldn't remember the 3rd girl and were confused. They said, then went back, looked at the age of consent, and just said, let me say 17, then make up he didn't know / they were in a 21 plus bar. So I think he's talking about, he's continuing on his own message. Hence why we thought it was a separate incident. So he says, 1 was class of 20. It was like giving like the years that they graduated. He doesn't know what that means for sure. I was like, no, so you're born in 03 and 04. That would make them 15, 16, and 16, 17. Yeah. So these are more of those messages.
And he sent that when the story broke out. You guys can do whatever you want with this information. I am continuing to get everybody to speak out. I want the person who was with Tommy that night to speak out. I would love to contact the girls. I have their first and last names. I have the year they were born, and I have the school. I'm going to be contacting the school first thing in the morning to dig up their files to get these girls information based on what happened, and I will take it to the fucking police and try to execute the full extent of the law against this man. I am doing everything in my power to see this man serve justice, because this is so fucking wrong, bro. This is so fucking wrong.
He's saying that he is going to contact the school of those girls as he now has their first and last name, and he is going to try to get Temperrr charged for being in this, like for doing this with these 2 potentially now 15 to 16-year-olds. That is insane. That's a crazy claim to stand on, like especially as he's doing it right now, saying, hey, I am going to do this. I'm going to try to get this man charged, full extent of the law. It's crazy to believe that he would just be doing this for clout, especially like how deep into this hole that he's digging himself. I'm interested to see further information coming out. The thing with, I believe it's Bezo. I could be incorrect, but the person that was with him that night, that interaction that FaZe Rain has had, the information or the messages that he exchanged with him seem out of anything so far to be more interesting to me, a bit more credible, just based on the context that we went over. This other individual saying that he went to high school with them, although I would say it's a bit less credible because they're, kind of nobody. We're just hearing that, yeah, they were from high school. They showed iMessage screenshots. Things have been faked before. I don't personally believe that he's faking them on purpose for any malicious reason, but at the same time, I'm not going to act like that just outright confirms them. So take that as it is. If more of it comes out, I will absolutely be covering it. I've become too invested myself, so I'm going to cover it when it comes out.